Have you ever heard of the saying, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? Well, this statement couldn't actually be more true, but whilst most people assume that rich people either know a secret, they're natural born geniuses, or maybe they just had money from the start,
I just do whatever I feel.
it's actually the way that they manage their wealth that allows them to continue growing their net worths every single year. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the 9 rules to start managing your money like the rich, no matter what your income is, starting with rule number 1, and that is setting achievable goals. Because at the end of the day, without goals, there's no actual way that we can actually measure how well we are actually doing, and there's no way that we can actually find and eliminate any hurdles that is potentially getting in our way. Now, the way that I find the rich like to set their goals is that most people have a long-term vision, but from that long-term vision, they then set smaller goals to actually help them get on the path to achieving that. For example, Elon Musk has a long-term vision of building a sustainable life on Mars, but at the same time he understands that doing something like this is going to cost him a lot of money, which is why he then sets smaller goals with his businesses such as Tesla. Rule number 2, create a budget no matter how much money you have. Now, one misconception about the rich is that because they have so much money, they don't need a budget and they can just spend as much money as they want and they never have to worry about it running out. Well, if that's true, then why is it that statistically 70% of lottery winners end up broke, and realistically it all comes down to one thing: their outgoings outweigh their incomings, and to be able to fix this almost instantly, you're going to need a budget. Rule number 3 is to understand the difference between good debt and bad debt. Now, when it comes to managing our finances, the D word is typically something that we all try to avoid. However, the one thing that the rich do extremely well is that they focus on eliminating the bad debt, and then they bring in good debt to use to their advantage. Now, what is bad debt? Well, bad debt, put in its most simple form, is when you have to borrow money to purchase a depreciating asset. I would say that cars are normally the most common example here, but items such as clothes, electronics, and furniture could also be classed as bad debt as well. Now, good debt, however, is when you typically borrow money to purchase an asset. However, when you have actually paid for that asset in the end, that asset is actually worth more money than what you actually purchased it for in the first place. One of the most common examples of good debt is, of course, taking out a mortgage on a property. This is because with house prices raising at rapid rates over the past 30 years, most people that have taken a mortgage out during that time likely would have made money on their property. This is also why you see a lot of rich people purchasing buy-to-let properties, because what they can essentially do is take out a buy-to-let mortgage, get the tenant to effectively pay that mortgage for them, and then when they decide to sell that property in the future, they would have made most of the time a really nice profit, at the same time earning passive income in the years that they actually owned that house. Rule number 4 is to start focusing on making more money, because whilst I do love promote being frugal, not overspending, and avoiding those unnecessary purchases, doing this can actually only take you too far. However, making more money and scaling your businesses and side hustles is completely limitless. Rule number 5, build multiple income streams. Now, one thing that I saw recently that really stood out to me was a quote that read, "One income stream is way too close to 0 income streams." And as simple as it sounds, one thing that you will probably notice with rich people is that they never have just one way of actually making money. Now, I'm sure you've heard already that the average millionaire normally has around 7 income streams, and whether it's true or not, and whilst it's still all really good, just being able to create a couple is a really good start. Now, how do you start building multiple income streams? Well, if you have a 9-to-5 job, an easy route would be just to go and get another job, maybe a part-time job in the evenings or maybe on the weekends. However, my favorite way of building multiple income streams is definitely by starting a new side hustle, because this is scalable and you can build it up over time. In fact, my side hustle that I started, which was this YouTube channel, over time has actually now become my main source of income. Rule number 6, learn to utilize credit cards the correct way. Now, once again, just like going into debt, some people look at having a credit card as actually a bad thing. However, just like we have good debt and bad debt, this also applies to having a credit card. For example, if you're using a credit card simply because you have no money at the end of the month and you really want to go on a night out, or maybe you want to go ahead and buy some new clothes, then this of course is a bad way of utilizing a credit card. However, if you treat your credit card almost like you treat your debit card and you repay the balance instantly as soon as you use it, then owning a credit card can have some really big advantages. Number one, the first thing you're going to do straight away is start improving your credit score. This is going to make things like acquiring a mortgage much easier in the future. And number two, which is my favorite, are all of the different perks that you can start taking advantage of with your credit card points. Rule number 7 is to try your best to invest at least half your income. Now, if I was to pick out one of these rules that I think the rich do better than anyone, then investing the majority of their income is definitely going to be it. One thing that if you study wealthy people, you will notice that most of them do is keep their money moving at all times. This could be in the form of investing into private companies, buying shares of businesses on the stock market, and definitely investing into property and real estate. Investing is so important when it comes to building long-term wealth and growing your riches from year to year, because not only does it do that, it also helps protect you, let's say if you ever lose your job or maybe lose a couple of your income streams as well. Rule number 8 is to not be greedy and let those investments compound over time. Now I have to say the main reason as to why the rich actually do get richer is because they let their investments increase over time using compound interest. In fact, compounding interest is so powerful that Albert Einstein once labeled it as the 8th wonder of the world, and to be honest, I couldn't agree more. Let me show you an example. So in this case, let's say you decided to invest £500 a month, which by the way is way under half of the average salary in the UK. And let's also say that your investment grew every year at roughly, let's say, an average of 10%. Of course, some years it's going to be higher, some years it's going to be lower. After 10 years of investing and letting that investment compound over time, your investment would be now worth over $100,000. Not bad, eh? But wait. The real compounding here hasn't even taken place yet. So let's say you decided to keep all of that money invested without taking any out just for, let's say, another 5 years. Your money would now be worth double at £207,000 in half the time that it took you to get to your first 100,000. But wait, it gets even better. Let's say you held that same money in investments for a total amount of 30 years. Your investment would now be worth over £1 million, and the only work that you would have to do every single month is just making that same investment. And as you can see, just for fun, if we take a look at the total interest and balance figures on those last 5 years, you can really see how powerful compound interest really can be and how important it is to keep your money invested for as long as possible. Rule number 9, invest money into yourself. Investing into your education is so important, and it can help you improve many factors of your life, with of course wealth being one of them. And don't worry, you don't need to go ahead and sign up for a university course or anything extreme like that. Something as simple as reading some personal development books from time to time would be more than sufficient. Now, if reading's not your thing, then one thing that I definitely recommend is taking a look at the website called Skillshare. This is an online video learning platform that works a little bit like Netflix, where you pay a monthly subscription and in return you get to watch some short and easy to consume classes on all things about personal finance and more. Now, whilst I'm not actually sponsored by Skillshare, one thing that you can do is check out the link down below in the description, where I actually have a free 30-day trial of Skillshare, so you can just go ahead and check it out without actually having to pay any money. And also, if you wanted to check out some more tips on how to grow your wealth every year, then you really do need to go ahead and check out this video, because what I did was I reached out to some of my favorite finance YouTubers to get their best tip to get rich in 2022. You don't want to miss it.